students. This is Mrs. A, and I love math. Today we're working on lesson 32 in your Saxon Orange book, and we're talking about word problems. Word problems, our challenge is to take the word problem and turn it into an expression that can become an equation that we can solve. Okay, so we're going to try to put this into an expression and an equation. So the sum of twice a number and 13 is 75. So remember, the sum means I'm going to add two things together. So the sum of twice a number 2 times n would be twice a number. So the sum of 2 times n and 13 becomes our equal sign 75. Okay, so the sum of means I add twice a number, 2n, and 13. The and is where I put the operation, which is plus. Is equal 75. So it looks good, doesn't it? So now we're going to try to figure out what the number is. We want to get the 2n by itself on one side, so we'll subtract the 13 and subtract the 13. Oops, I didn't do that very well, did I? We get 2n. This cancels, equals 75 minus 13 would be 62. If twice n is 62, then wouldn't we divide both sides by 2? And we get n equals 62 divided by 2 is 31. Okay, let's plug it back in. If I said twice a number, it would be twice 31, which would be 62, plus 13 is 75, and that is true. So our number is 31. Here's our second example. Find a number such that 13 less than twice the number is 137. So 13 less than twice the number. Let's start with twice the number and then take 13 away from it. And we get 137. Let's see if that does the trick. Find a number, so we're going to call our number n, such that 13 less than twice the number is 137. That does it, doesn't it? So now we're still trying to get our 2n by itself. We're going to add a 13. We're going to add a 13 over here. That's going to become 10, carry the 1, 3, 4, 5. 150 is twice n. So to find out what n is, all we have to do is divide by 2 on both sides, divide by 2, divide by 2, and n is half of 150, which will be 75. Okay, so let's check it. So we have twice the number. 75 plus 75 is 150. Take away the 13, and we get 137. These are fun. Here is our next word problem. Find a number such that, oops, I left the that off, that if 5 times the number is decreased by 14, the result is twice the opposite of the same number. So we're going to call the number n, okay? So find a number n such that if 5 times the number is decreased by 14, so we're going to take 14 away from the 5 times the number, then the result would mean an equal sign is twice the opposite of the number. So that would be negative n. Okay, so that's what I'm proposing. Let's see it. Let's read it one more time. Find a number such that if 5 times the number is decreased by 14, the result, so that's equal, is twice the opposite of the number. So I'm going to stand with that, and let's solve it. So this is going to be 5n minus 14 equals, now 2 times the negative n is a negative 2n. Now we want all of our n's on one side. So since we already have an n separated over here, let's subtract a 5n and subtract a 5n. So now this goes away and we have a negative 14 is negative 7n. So if we divide this side by negative 7 and divide this side by negative 7, then we get 2. So 2 is n. n equals 2. Okay, so now let's go back and plug it in. If we make this a 2 and we make this a negative 2, then we get 10 minus 14 is a negative 4. And it works. Okay, so there's your work on that one. So for the next example, find a number which decreased by 18 equals 5 times its opposite. Okay, so find a number, n. So when we decrease the n by 18, it equals 5 times the opposite of the number. Okay, so read it again. Find a number which decreased by 18 equals 5 times the opposite of the number. So that's pretty simple to put it into the equation form. So n minus 18 is 5 times a negative n is a negative 5n. So again, I already have this n separated, so let's subtract an n from both. And remember, that's a 1n. So this cancels. We get negative 18 is negative 6n. So we divide by negative 6 and we divide by negative 6. And we end up with 3 equals n. And when we plug it back in, 3 minus 18 is a negative 15. And negative 3 times 15 is also a negative 15. And it works. I always thought that word problems were fun because they're kind of like a mystery. We get the same result if we multiply a number by 3 or if we multiply the number by 5 and then add 2. Find the number. So we have a mystery, don't we? Okay, so we multiply by 3 the first time. So 3 times the number is 3n. Or if we multiply the number by 5 and then subtract 2, we get the same number. So let's see if we've got this right. We get the same result if we multiply a number by 3 or if we multiply the number by 5 and then add 2. Aren't we glad that I reread it? I had put minus 2, but it's add 2. Always read it twice, right? Okay, so now we have it right. So now we're going to get all the n's on one side. So let's subtract a 5n and subtract a 5n. We get negative 2n equals 2. All right, so n, if we divide by a negative 2, let's do that. Let's divide by negative 2 and divide by negative 2. Then n is negative 1. Okay, so 3 times a negative 1 is a negative 3. And 5 times a negative 1 is a negative 5 plus 2 is a negative 3 again, isn't it? There's your work for that problem. Okay, so here is your first practice problem. So copy it down and then pause your video. 4 times a number decreased by 8 equals 92. Find the number. And then the book says check your answer. I just didn't write it on the board. So 4 times the number decreased by 8 equals 92. Now run off and do it yourself and then put the video back on and see if you did it right. Okay, so 4 times a number. 4 times n is 4n. Decreased by 8 equals 92. 4 times a number decreased by 8 equals 92. So now we're trying to find out what n is. So we're going to add 8 to both sides. And we get 4n equals 100. Well, 4 quarters and $1, right? So divide by 4, divide by 4. N is 25. So let's go back and check it. 4 times a number, so 4 times 25 would be 100. Decreased by 8 is 92. And we got it right. Did you get it right? Here is the last problem of this section. This is your practice problem, so let's copy it down. If the product of 4 and a number is decreased by 12, the result is twice the opposite of the number. Well, this one's a doozy, isn't it? Okay, so we need to figure out how to interpret this and put it into an equation. Product means multiply. So the product of 4 and a number would be 4 times that number, or just 4n, is decreased by 12. The result, we can put an equal sign where the result is. The result is twice the opposite. So twice the opposite of the number. Okay, so let's look at the words again, make sure we have our equation right. If the product of 4 and a number, 4 times a number, is decreased by 12, the result is 2 times, or twice, the opposite of the number. That looks good to me. So we have 4n minus 12 equals negative 2n. So now we're going to get this 4n over here so that we can get all of our n's on one side. Cancel. Negative 12 is negative 6n. So now we're going to divide by negative 6 on this side, divide by negative 6 on this side. I'm almost out of room. Negative 12 divided by negative 6 is 2. Negative 6n divided by negative 6 is n. So n is equal to 2. Now let's check it. Okay, see if I can get that glare off the board. Okay, so 4 times 2 is 8. 8 take away 12 is negative 4 on this side. So then we plug in the 2 here. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4 on that side. And it checks. So there's your work for that problem. And we are done with this lesson. This is Mrs. A, and may God bless your day.